All right, what you're seeing here is my new backup camera, which I actually picked up off of eBay right before I made my trip to Ecuador. I was looking for something that was a little bit smaller than my G85, which is actually still a fairly small camera if you consider the Micro Four Thirds system versus a full frame. Needless to say, this camera is even smaller. Granted, it came with a larger sensor, so it came with the APS-C versus the Micro Four Thirds that I currently have. So it lets in some more light for the most part. But I really just wanted something that was a little more pocketable, and then also been able to shoot B-roll, different vantage point versus always shooting everything off of this camera and my cell phone camera. So I started looking around. Top of the list for me was really just to stick with the Panasonic system. So therefore I looked at the GX850, which I believe was fairly close to the size of this camera. And the number one issue that I had with the GX850 was the fact that it didn't have a mic jack, which I thought was just insane. Would have been nice if it had that, just because I could have used the same lenses. The lenses really weren't that big of a deal, and speaking of that, whenever I purchased this one, the seller on eBay was actually selling it with the Canon f2 22mm pancake lens, which is actually the lens that I wanted to get for it. So it actually worked out for me. As you can see, it's fairly compact. I had the opportunity to use it a couple of times here in Ecuador, yesterday and today. Walked around and shot a lot of pictures, and I was pretty impressed. Still learning the Canon system. It's pretty straightforward. Actually, it's pretty intuitive, so it's not like I had to do a whole heck of a lot. But just figuring out where everything is, so it's more straightforward when I'm actually shooting and want to adjust things on the fly. As far as the camera is concerned, a couple of different items drew me towards it. Like I said, number one, it had the jack that I need, so the mic jack for a camera this size was top of the list. And then also the screen here. So this screen actually will flip out this way. You can flip it up like this, or you can flip it all the way up, and then you can kind of use it like in selfie mode. That's pretty neat. The one thing that I will say, and a lot of complaints people had, was the actual camera. You can mount a microphone on top, but the microphone has a tendency to actually it blocks the screen. So what you want to do is either get a small cage for it, rig or whatever, so you can actually put it under here, run it around, or you could do like I'm doing, and like I wear a lavalier mic anyway with the G85, so needless to say, I won't have an issue with that. I do have an attachment that I can actually just thread in here that kind of goes out to the side, and I can hold the mic on. So I don't think I'd ever really worry about that or even consider that to be an issue for me. But then the other neat thing about it is the fact that you can actually slide the camera out this way, and then when you're doing your run and gun shooting, you can hold it kind of like this down by your waist, and then just fire away and review the footage at the same time. I thought that was fairly neat, only because if you're doing street photography, it's not as obtrusive versus if you have either a full frame or DSLR, and you're trying to shoot folks, and then of course they're wondering why you're pointing this gigantic camera at them. You may not even necessarily be taking the picture of them, but because it is so large, it just seems like they're in the frame, so you are. The only thing I picked up for it so far is the hood, because it didn't come with one. Just grabbed this off of eBay really quick. It's pretty straightforward. Of course, I got my lens cover stuck in there, but really it doesn't add a whole heck of a lot to it. Generally I just take this off and throw it in my pocket and I walk around. I don't even really take the lens off. I just thought about it, I actually got some more batteries for it too. The batteries, ordered them off of eBay. They were fairly tiny. I would say just a little bit smaller, I believe, than what was in the G85. The only issue that I didn't really think this was going to be an issue was the darn batteries they don't show up on the screen. So the G85 can't actually tell you how much life is remaining. So when you actually cut this thing on, and I will, this is what it looks like. And normally there's an indicator up there that actually gives you an icon and tell you how much battery life you have left. Well, with the third-party batteries, you don't get that. I didn't even know that was a thing, only because of my Panasonic. Whatever battery I put in there so far, I don't have that problem. But since we're in here, I'll kind of show you what the interface looks like. Once again, I'm in Ecuador. There's a lot of construction going on outside of my hotel, and yeah, so forgive the sound. Worst case, if it's terrible, I'll just reshoot it. So the menu is pretty straightforward. I didn't have any issues navigating it. You know, I would say the graphics are, I'm not going to say they're on par with Panasonic. To me, the Panasonic graphics look a little bit sharper, but these aren't bad. Just make sure I got the glare off there. But yeah, navigating it is pretty simple. Everything you need is at hand. This dial also turns too, so if I went here and I just wanted to go up and down, I could do that, or I can do this. And then there's also a dial in the front, which that was another big part for me, is I wanted to be able to manually address certain things on the fly. And then with the dial up front, let me go back to the screen here. If I want to like change the aperture, I could just turn this dial here, and you can notice it'll change there at the bottom. Tell you what, if it's more beneficial, I could take that off, let it adjust. But yeah, I've been pretty happy. I went through, actually updated the firmware, and I changed a few of the settings only because I like to have a histogram rather, and then also I love to have grid lines just so I can utilize the Micro Four Thirds. But other than that, I haven't done anything. Oh, sorry, I did mess around with the autofocus, although I normally shoot in manual just to kind of compare it to the Panasonic. Frankly, I think they're both equally terrible, but I did set this one up a way that I felt was better, so the focus was a little bit sharper, a little faster is what I should say. And yeah, so that's really about it. Once again, as I have the opportunity to play around with it, I'll you know, probably put more videos up about it as I start to modify it, if I modify it. Biggest thing is I don't want to mess up the form factor. Otherwise, I've been pretty happy. I guess I'm going to sign out, go find me some coffee and some dessert, and I think that's it. If you have any questions, feel free, leave them down below. And of course, if you like this video, would appreciate it if you click the thumbs up. If you don't like it, fine too, and subscribe. Signing out.